Hey everyone, today I want to talk about agentic AI automation in 2025. So it's a new year and the hype around AI agents continues. If you've been on YouTube, if you've been on LinkedIn, if you've been on any social media, you've probably seen a whole range of influencers talking about how AI agents are going to replace the workforce, replace all your employees, take your jobs, all that sort of stuff. And it's true that there's been a lot of improvement and advancement in this space, but a lot of that hype is just that. It's just hype. So today I want to talk about how we can actually practically use AI agents and how it fits into what some people might be more familiar with, which is AI automation. So first of all, what do I mean when I say agentic AI automation? I mean using AI agents in key steps of your actual AI automation. So AI automation, if you've watched my channel before, generally refers to using a no-code platform or some sort of deterministic flow where you have sort of step one, step two, step three, and it follows very strict, generally conditional logic, right? And so step one after step two, there is no routing by a large language model, or the routing or the control flow is controlled by the user or the user-defined logic. What I'm saying here is where you have user-defined logic, you can actually replace some of the steps with AI agents. The benefit of this is when we're only replacing certain steps rather than replacing full workflows, we are reducing the scope of what the AI agent needs to do. So reducing our expectations of what the AI agent needs to do and reducing the chances of error. So on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on sort of social media, everyone's saying, oh, you can use AI agents to fully replace entire workflows end to end. And like that gets a lot of views, lots of attention, sounds very compelling to a business owner. And of course, like if that was possible, that would be amazing, right? But the truth is it's just not realistic currently with the current state of technology. That might change as things change, as things improve. But right now, as of today, it is not realistic. So a lot of people will use this claim to sell to clients or just sort of get their foot in the door. But longer term or sort of even medium term, what that leads to is just disappointment in clients and churn and sort of whole host of issues there. So you do see a lot of people using this as like a cash grab. So they might sort of try to sell you a PDF or a quick course where it really doesn't matter how good the technology is. So they'll sell you that and it doesn't really matter. They don't really care too much about it. But if you're actually interested in building long-term relationships with your clients, if you're building software as like a strong software business that actually has long-term potential, you do care quite a lot about churn. So stuff like this is not a good way forward, right? But before we dive into some use cases where we can introduce AI agents into workflows, let's first just quickly define what an AI agent is. So AI agents is a term that's thrown around a lot, as I mentioned, but it is very, very poorly defined. Like everyone you talk to has a slightly different definition of what an AI agent is. In my personal opinion, I think Swix or SWYX, I don't know how you pronounce it, he has a pretty good definition of what an AI agent is. And it is just a combination of a large language model. So a large language model is a model like GPT-4o, Claude 3.5, that sort of stuff, with memory, with planning. So planning is like getting the large language model to come up with some sort of plan. Then tools, so giving your LLM access to different things. So whether that's access to the internet, being able to search Google or being able to search your CRM, create a ticket, all that sort of stuff. And then a while loop. So just looping that AI agent so that it can sort of make its way down its plan, right? So it comes up with a to-do list and it just sort of iterates through that to-do list and then either tweaks that to-do list as it goes or just executes that to-do list to completion. So in my perspective, that's what an AI agent is. And if you look at things like the OpenAI Assistant API, they sort of combine a couple of these things together and make that available to you via an API. If you look at like other agents on the market, like I think most people will be aware of Bolt.new or the Replit agent, that sort of stuff, you'll see that they have basically those steps, right? You give the large language model instructions, they plan out how they're going to carry out the work. So for something like Replit or Bolt.new, it plans out how it's going to build the software product that you want, and then it just executes step by step and then iterates. If there's errors, it sort of solves those, and it sort of does that in a loop until it gets to some sort of outcome. A thing that a lot of people get confused about is chatbots. So they're not mutually exclusive or anything like that. They just refer to different things. So a chatbot is just really more of a interface. So it's just how you're interfacing with a large language model. You could just as easily kick off a agent via an API or via a form submission or via any other range of front-end interfaces. There is a startup that I came across somewhat recently called AutoGrid. So they let you kick off agents from a spreadsheet. So having a chatbot is really just an interface. It is a very common interface for interacting with agents, but it is not a requirement. So it's just a quick distinction there, because I do see a lot of people getting confused there. Now, before I continue, just going through a lot of stuff in this video. So if you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll try my best to get back to you. Cool. So we've got all the definitions out of the way. Let's actually move into what I think will actually be practical in terms of implementing AI agents in 2025. So stuff beyond the hype. If you want just the hype, just watch every other YouTuber out there. Everyone's just saying, oh, I'm replacing 30 employees in my business with AI agents, blah, 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 right? And there is some element of truth to that, but most of it is just hype. So two categories which I think are going to be possible or practical to implement in 2025. And I'm not the only one who thinks this. I think the first blog post I read on this was from Simon Wilson. So he has a great blog post on his AI predictions for the next 1, 3, 6 years. A bit more on the technical side, but very good read. He also says code and research agents, and I completely agree. These are sort of the two areas where we've started to see products that can actually deliver value. So on the code side, you have things like Cursor, which I use on a daily basis when I build my software products. You have things like Bolt.new, Lovable, Replit Agent, which I think somewhat work for more simple products. I don't think you can say they're like fully capable yet, but they do work for relatively basic tasks. And then on the research side, you have things like Perplexity Agent, Gemini Deep Research, and Clay Agent. So a lot in the sort of, I guess, sales lead research side, as well as just like academic research, web research, that sort of stuff. The only other category that I might consider is sort of around the customer support agent side. I think we're still relatively early here. There's a couple of companies claiming they can do stuff, but nothing that's fully been rolled out, and I've seen businesses actually fully implement. You have companies like Intercom or the Klarna case study that everyone talks about with customer support, but a lot of those use cases don't really require agents. It's literally just a large language model. It's basically just a chatbot. So that is a use case that I think is practical. I just don't really consider that a agentic use case yet. But they are moving in sort of the AI agent direction. So who knows, maybe that will come true in 2025, but that's sort of the next category I would add after these two. Cool. So we talked about AI agents, what's practical, what's hype. Now let's talk about how we would actually do agentic AI automation. Let's go through a practical example. So a very practical example here is really with that research use case. So with agentic AI automation, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the best of AI automation as well as with AI agents. So with AI automations, a lot of the benefit is it's set and forget, right? Once you've built your AI automation or your workflow automation, you kind of let that run in the background automatically. And because it's fully deterministic, which means the same steps always run one after the other, you don't really need to worry too much about it. You don't always need to have an approval step or anything like that. You kind of just leave it in the background. So things will include like stuff you build in Zapier or in make.com, where it might be like you have a lead capture form, and then from that lead capture form, you might make a call to a enrichment API, so something like Clearbit or something like that, just to pull in additional details about your lead, and then you might save it to your CRM or a spreadsheet if we want to just keep it super simple, right? If we're introducing AI agents, we can replace this Clearbit API call with a research AI agent who can then take a bit more flexibility in the research that is done on that lead before saving it to a CRM. So you can see here, instead of just replacing the entire flow We're only replacing a specific flow. And now like it's very easy to do like replace the entire flow if you want, but practically speaking, you wouldn't be able to roll that out in a confident way because the experience and the reliability is just not there yet if it's anything beyond something super, super simple. So if you do want to learn how to replace the full process, I have videos on that. It's just if you are rolling this out for a client or if this is an important business process, then I would recommend a more controlled approach where you are just replacing specific steps first. And then as the technology improves, maybe in the next 6 months or something like that, where agents get better, you can incrementally replace more of the AI automation flow with agentic steps, right? And eventually we might get to a world where it is just full agentic, but right now it's still sort of start with the AI automation and then incrementally pull out steps and replace them with agentic or AI agent steps. So let's build this. I'm going to jump into make.com and do something super simple. So generally what would happen is you would start with a form submission, right? Which is like you capture a lead. So you can use whatever you want. A lot of people will use like HubSpot forms, or you can use sort of Typeform is very popular. I like to use Tally. It's just a very nice form builder. So I'm just going to use this. You can use whatever form builder you want. You would choose your hook and get your information coming in. So in the previous world, like I said before, you would use something like a Clearbit API call just to enrich the lead that you've captured. So generally in your form, you would collect an email and then you can sort of use like get a person. So you would hit the Clearbit API. Basically, you're just hitting the Clearbit database to pull out any information they have on that person. And you can incorporate that into whatever you want to do, right? So you might make this call and then use that information to generate an outreach email with ChatGPT or something like that. So create completion here and then just send an email, right? Like very basic AI automation stuff. If you don't know how to do this stuff, just check out videos on my channel. We've got heaps on just basic AI automation. So you might just do something like this, right? Where it's get a lead, pull some research on them, generate an outreach email and then send the email to them. Just get speed of lead, all the benefits there, right? Don't really need to explain to you like time savings, the sort of increased response rate, all that sort of ROI. I think if you've been following the AI news, you're well aware of the potential benefits there. So what we're going to do today is instead of that, we're just going to replace this with a agentic step. So for that agentic step, you can use any sort of AI agent builder. What I'm going to use today is Dumpling AI. And the reason for that is Dumpling AI agents are one, very simple to build, but two, are designed to integrate into make.com. So yeah, I'm just going to use Dumpling AI. So what I want to do is create a new AI agent here. You can use the lead researcher agent template, or you can start one from scratch. I'm just going to create the lead research agent template to begin with, just because it means we have something to work with. And I'm just going to say this is for a tutorial, and we just need to provide a email and business. So let's just update this. So let's assume that we're capturing an email and business in our form submission, right? Now here you can see what we're doing in terms of the system prompt that we're getting to the AI assistant. You can see we've got the steps. So some of this stuff we don't need, so we can simplify. So what I might actually do is say, you will be, so this is like a prompt generator if you don't like to write prompts yourself. So you will be provided with a email address and company. Please research this to find the company size. And here you might have categories, right? So it's like less than 50 employees, 50 to 500. Like you would usually have more categories. I'm just keeping it simple for the tutorial. And then you might have industry, headquarter, location, CEO name, like whatever you want, right? So let's put that in and then just press generate. And this will go and generate a prompt for me. And you generally will need to edit the prompt a little bit, but it is generally a good start. So you can see here, it's got all those instructions, which is good. And it gives us back the response, which is exactly what we want. And this looks good. And as I said before, AI agent, you need to give it tools, right? So we're going to let it search Perplexity. We're going to let it search the internet. We're also going to give it the ability to search Google, because that's useful. And then what we want to do is leave it at that. So if you wanted to give it additional tools, so maybe there are other tools that are not included in Dumpling AI natively, you can integrate it by calling a make.com webhook. So what you would do is create an automation in Make that can use the tool that you want, and then just give the AI agent the ability to call that make.com automation. But we don't need to do that for now. So you've done this, just save your agent. And here in the agent preview is just like a testing screen, right? So generally you would just include your AI agent in an automation. So you don't actually have to go in manually and use the agent, but we do. So I do see some people also come into Dumpling AI and just use this with the chatbot interface. So sometimes they just like to manually research an agent. So it might be like, okay, we got a submission from Sam Altman. And then what do you think? You know, it's Sam and OpenAI as an example, right? And just to test how the AI agent will perform. And you can see it's doing a lot of different searches and just see how it performs. Some people just use this as a tool in the day-to-day because they don't integrate it into a AI automation, but completely up to you. There is also an ability to share this AI agent with your team if you want, or embed it in your website if you want to share it with your customers. Currently, this AI agent functionality with Dumpling AI is not really designed for like a custom support chatbot that you would embed, mainly because of the fact that AI agents consume a lot of credits. So it's still relatively expensive to run. So basically you would use it basically yourself, for your team, or for customers behind some sort of login wall. So you wouldn't really publicly expose this stuff unless you want to be quite specific around the caps that you set on your AI system. So up to you. Anyway, so we've got this, which all looks pretty good, right? That looks pretty good. So now it's sort of a question of how do we actually integrate this AI agent into our make.com automation, right? So all we need to do actually is come here, drag in the Dumpling AI module, and then there is a AI agent completion, right? So I'm going to press that, and you'll need to set up your Dumpling AI connection. Just follow the instructions, it's pretty easy to set up. And what you need to do is just select what AI agent you want to use. So if you come here, there's an agent ID. So I'm just going to copy this agent ID, come back into make.com and press paste, right? And then all I need to do is paste in the data that I've gotten from the form submission, right? So because I haven't set up the form, I won't have this data yet, but usually once you've set up your tally form submission and you've got some test data in, you'll have a field that's name, you'll have a field that is email and that sort of stuff. So you would feed in like name, then feed in the name variable. So again, I'm just going to give sample data. If you're doing this for real, just put in real data. If you're not sure how to do all this and you want me to actually go through the full end-to-end build, leave a comment below, I can do that. And then company, really here is just where you'd be putting in all the data that you've collected in that lead capture form, right? So, yeah. And because it's make.com and I want to use these fields and save it to my CRM or my spreadsheet leader, I'm going to turn on parse JSON, right? And press OK. Now I'm just going to quickly run this module as a test just to see if that works properly. Now we'll just run, and it's in the background. It's doing all these searches and all that sort of stuff. And if you want it to like always search for Plexi as an example, you can put that in the prompt. So you have a lot of control over your AI agent that way, but the AI agent also will sort of make that decision call, right? So it's like some companies will require a lot more searches, some companies won't. And that's the sort of benefit of an AI agent as compared to a deterministic AI automation where you explicitly set like each time there's a lead, we only do one search. With the AI agent, it will sort of intelligently decide how many searches it needs to do and that sort of stuff. Cool. So the parse JSON, cool. We've got company name, email domain, company size. Like this looks really good, right? So we've got all these variables. All you need to do next is whatever you want, right? So you can save that into your CRM. So maybe you want to update a lead in your CRM. So you might create or update a contact. That might be something you do. You might update a deal. Depends on really like what you want to do. If you want to keep it simple, you might use Airtable as your CRM, right? Maybe you're sort of more starting up. In that case, you would use Airtable and you can create a record or update a record and just save that to your database. It's really up to you. It's really more just an example of how you can integrate an AI agent into a workflow. And the benefit of this is, as I said before, the AI agent can be a bit more intelligent around what it does. So in some cases, you might have just had a simple single step before, but with AI agent, you should ideally get better results because the AI agent is able to take multiple steps. The other use case is sometimes you have a very complicated AI automation where you have lots of different like branching paths for different cases. You can simplify the AI automation by replacing it with AI agent and putting all of that logic into the prompt, and the AI agent will be able to sort of navigate that automatically. So it simplifies your AI automation as well. But at the end of the day, it is a bit of a balance because, as I said before, with your AI automation, you can be confident that it will run the same way every single time. Whereas with agentic stuff, it's a bit more unreliable, but which is why we're sort of, here's that balance I said before, right? Like you're ripping out, incrementally adopting AI agents into your AI automations. And as I said before, in 2025 and beyond, as AI agents improve, you will be able to slowly replace more and more of these workflows with AI agents. So your builds will become simpler and easier and more powerful. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Lots of interesting ways you can integrate AI agents into your AI automations or workflow automations. If you have any interesting ideas, I'd love to hear them below. I'll pick a good idea from the comments below and make a video on it. But with that, basically it for this video. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts, just leave it below and I'll try my best to get back to you.